You're listening to The Imposter Entrepreneur with Miss Tiffany Menefee. Let's lay down some ground rules. We're going to talk about business, life, relationships, alcohol, because more than likely we're going to be drinking while we're recording this, because let's be realistic, all entrepreneurs have a vice, and there's probably going to be some cursing going on.
And yet, let's not forget that Miss Tiffany will probably say something highly offensive and not realize it's offensive. So if y'all aren't down with that, stop listening right now.
But if you're chill and not easily offended, then the Imposter Entrepreneur podcast is for you. Remember to follow us on all our social media pages and subscribe to our podcast. Now let's just jump into this week's topic. Welcome to Imposter Entrepreneur for like the one viewer we probably have.
Hello, everybody.
I have Miss Megan Harris on with us. I mean, we might have been live a couple minutes ago, and then like Facebook didn't like us, and now we're back live again. So
here we are.
I know. I'm excited to have Megan on. So she's super bubbly. If you did notice, I have a glass of wine. She does not. Turns out she's allergic to alcohol.
Yes, I am.
So your bubbliness is just like purely natural.
Well, I get a lot of help with coffee.
No cocaine?
No cocaine.
I'm just kidding. There is a child
It's
in
not
the room.
It's not a good investment. So yeah, a lot of it comes from the great staff at Starbucks on Lee Trevino. Gotta give shout out to them.
Shouts to the people
They
that
know
give
my
you your
recipe to the T. I mean, 6 years of the same thing. They know exactly
Wait,
how.
what's your drink?
Okay, so venti iced coffee, caramel classic, light ice, 2% milk, and sometimes double, triple shot.
Dude, I can't even like remember one sentence. Like, I don't even know how I would remember that order.
You'd be surprised. I actually roll up in the morning.
Can I just be like, can I have a Megan?
Yeah.
Right?
They'll be like, oh, okay, do you want it really strong today? Or is today one of those relaxed days? And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, sometimes I walk in, I'm like, you know what? I need the strongest you got. And they're like, okay. But I just walk in and they're kind of like, is it your iced coffee today? And I don't have to repeat the order, anything. Like the staff there's amazing.
That's awesome.
They every day, I mean, every morning, there's smiles on their faces. They know exactly what I want.
I feel that way about the guy at the
team
liquor
is
store.
Great.
No, that's not appropriate. So I literally, when she got here at the podcast, I looked at her and be like, oh my gosh, she brought her daughter with her. I'm like, is it okay if I curse in front of your daughter? I'm like, oh, shit. I mean, like, I feel bad. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm not being a good role model. I will try to be appropriate today, especially since my mother does not like it.
Well, my daughter, she has been on my team and by my side since she was born. She was born into business. She has seen it all. I mean, she has been around it, hands-on. She is my number one support.
That's awesome. Tell me what your businesses are, because like I was like trying to like check in and tag her, and she's like, which business do I want? And I'm like, dude, I'm just tired trying to freaking find your businesses. Like, tell me like the gamut of your businesses, because usually I'm like, oh, we're Tinder for business. Tell me about your business. But I'm like, dude, like I feel like I'm like cheating with somebody right now. I'm like, you got 4 businesses.
Oh
and
my
I'm like,
goodness.
which one are we gonna pick? Like, so tell me all
you
that
know
you
what?
got going on. Because as an entrepreneur, like I'm like, dude, with one, I'm like, screw this. But you have like 4, so tell me about
it's crazy because I kind of let me backtrack a little.
Are you a serial entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting because I kind of just fell into it.
Okay.
It was nothing. I did not go to school for what I do.
What did you go to school for?
Chemistry and biology.
I'm
a microbiology
are
chemistry
never what
major.
they ever went to school for. So I love hearing what people actually went to school for. I'm like, oh, you're supposed to be an astro engineer or
exactly.
whatever the hell that is.
I was supposed to be the doctor of the family,
yeah.
right? And everyone had high hopes. I was supposed to go to medical school. And you know what? I was actually introduced. I was actually introduced to the mortgage world at such a young age. I was 15 years old. I was already helping run a restaurant called Steak Pedos.
Okay.
Best for, it was great sandwiches.
How did you get it? Like, was it family?
It was my family.
Okay.
So my uncle contacted me. And I was 15 years old, and he's like, hey, you're responsible, and you kind of know how to put things together.
Responsible.
What are your thoughts about maybe helping us around the office, like getting us organized, answering phones? And I'm like, hey, I really like this. So I got involved, and I was like, wow, this is not only challenging, you're helping people, and it's in such a way, like you can't just mess up someone's mortgage.
Oh no.
Like that's a big deal. You know, it's a lot of responsibility.
Like it's like their biggest purchase of their life usually.
Exactly. And so when I was at like such a young age, I was 15 years old, and what I ended up finding is it was not only challenging, but it made you think outside the box. I really enjoyed, and I realized that the company had put so much faith in me. They saw the potential. They saw the growth that I can make with this, and so I stuck with it.
Do you feel like a lot of entrepreneurs start really young?
I think
not
so.
being young as an entrepreneur, but being young, like working and stuff. Because I started off working really young also, and having a lot of responsibility and stuff, and like wanting to earn my own money. So I feel like when I talk to entrepreneurs, I always feel like it's always the same, like, hey, I got thrown into this, or hey, I was doing this. And then I have other people that aren't entrepreneurs, and they're like, oh, I went to high school and I went to college, and then after college, I got my first job. And I'm just like, really? Like after that, like once I was 21, I'd already like been working for like, gosh, like
it felt
7
like
or
forever.
8 years.
Yeah, it felt like forever. And you know, I have my parents to thank with that, because they were so they were just always pushing us, not pushing us, but they would allow us to think outside the box. As young kids, my parents were like, you know what? You want to make some money? You really want to, you know, go to Wet n Wild? You really want to, you know, go to the movies? Well, hey, get out there and start making your money.
Yeah.
And so at a young age of like 8 years old, my brothers and we would go around the neighborhood and mow lawns. We were good at it. We would mow the lawns. We would edge them. We would pull the weeds, whatever we had to do.
So one of my stepmoms had a lawn care business, so I did that stuff when I was younger too. And people were like, really, I mean, but there were hot high school guys that worked for the lawn care business. So I just say, you know, but you know, it did. I mean, it was manual labor, and like, dude, once I was in high school, I realized I did not want to do manual labor.
Yeah, and so yes, exactly. And so at a very young age, I guess I started at such a young age where I understood the concept of work and money.
Yeah.
And then I realized, like, wow, we weren't making a crazy amount of money, but as a kid, wow, it's like I got $5, I got $10. And my dad was always like, you guys, like, I'll help you, you know, I'll give you, I remember my very first box of chocolates. My dad took me to Sam's. They're Sam Club's members for probably life. And my dad took us to Sam's Club, and we purchased a box of chocolates. And he's like, look, I'll buy you your first box, but then from here on, you're going to buy your own.
That's awesome. That's like my niece. She's selling slime at like in like middle school. And I'm like, what is this? And she's like, my dad was like, he was like, oh, I'll buy you for my niece the first box of like whatever to make it. And then you can go and like, you know, invest your profits and stuff. So I think it's awesome to like that you learn it at an early age.
It's such an early age.
You started at the mortgage company and then what happened?
Actually, at the same time, I was also working for Eastwood High School.
Okay.
So I was actually in charge and responsible for grading all the tax writing tests. So when I was...
How old were you?
I was 15, and then 16, I was officially hired.
That doesn't seem like that you should be officially doing any of that. I would like to question this.
Well,
like,
I
mean, I didn't go to Eastwood High School, but like, come on.
I had to, at such a young age, I was constantly in the books. I was always constantly making sure that I was... ahead of the game, making good grades. I love to learn. My parents are educators, so I was constantly pushing myself to learn and to be more and to do more. And so it was great because the high school came to me and they were like, hey, you know what? Like, we have an opening if you want to, help us start tutoring the students who are struggling or maybe don't understand it, because, they try to cram so much information in a 45-minute class,
Dude,
and so
I feel totally like let down because like my high school, I'm like, what? Like none of that. Like, I was like, what's a career counselor? I don't know. Like, everybody's
exactly,
like,
right?
I'm like, we're a small high school in the middle of nowhere, and everybody's like, oh, this, and then I'm like, no, like the epitome of like high school was like you get off at noon to go work, and that's awesome, So like listening to this, it's amazing that you had like opportunity in high school to sort of
It was interesting, because I worked for Steak Pitos, I worked for Eastwood High School, and then my uncle's like, hey, on your free time and during the summer, would you be interested in working mortgage? And I didn't realize at that point that I had found like my niche. And it's pretty empowering when you find something that you're just like,
passionate
I love
about?
people. Yeah,
Oh,
and my whole
people.
thing is I love people. I'm like, how can I help you? How can I make this work? How can I?
So are you a pleaser?
I like to please people.
I think entrepreneurs are like that. I like to please people too, but my niche is not people, because we were just actually talking about this before the podcast. So you weren't here yet, but me and Oscar were talking about it, and I think my father nailed it on the head, because people always say, "Oh my gosh, you're so extroverted and you love people," and I'm like, "Oh, that's such a lie. Like, I am an introvert," and I tell people that I'm an introvert, and they're like, "No, you're not. You're like, you're lying to us." I'm like, "No, I really am." I think my father at Thanksgiving hit the nail on the head. He was like, "You're a high functioning introvert." And like me and Oscar were just talking about that. Like, I can be extroverted, like with effort and stuff, but like it's draining for me. But you're extroverted in general and love dealing with people and stuff. And that makes it awesome as an entrepreneur, because it's helping people, and it like feeds people's interests and stuff. So you started helping people with mortgages, and then how did you get on to everything else?
Well, I had an opportunity to come up with a wonderful builder, a very strong builder, Saratoga Homes.
Okay, yes.
And there's a wonderful person there. His name is Charlie Bombach, Carlos Bombach, and he also saw that kind of potential. And he's like, you know what? He's like, I want to go ahead and we're going to hire you on. But I want you to really just give me your all. And I want to see, he goes, I want you to think outside that box. And I want you to bring yourself here. I don't want you to kind of convert into a work person. I want you to bring yourself here. And so that was really cool. I really had fun at Saratoga, because it takes a lot to be a home builder. There are so many different avenues and aspects of building a home.
Oh my gosh,
there is
so many.
It starts with the financing, buying the land, where you're going to put it, the financing, the specs that you're going to put up, the contractors, everything. The money, the estimating, the selling it, the closing it, I'm sorry, guys. And so there is so many different avenues. And so he was like, look, he's like, Megan, just give me your all. And so I started off, I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn sales. I knew some mortgage. I knew a good amount of mortgage. But he's like, I want you to learn sales. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I got in there.
I am the worst at.
Really? I love sales. I'm like, how can I help you? Let me find your dream.
I'm like, I want to help you, but I'm like, oh no, you don't need that. No. Like, if it was me, I wouldn't want my family to buy that. No, you're good. Don't put your money into that. And so I'm really horrible at sales, because I like want people to I want to treat people like I would want my family treated.
Yes.
And I have to realize sometimes when you're in sales as an entrepreneur, not everybody has the same perspective as you.
Exactly.
So.
And I think that is where I have learned, that's where your integrity comes in.
Yeah.
Because I personally cannot put my name on something that I wouldn't put myself in it.
Yeah,
so
for
I
sure.
will not, and I tell my customers, even in real estate, I've been doing real estate now for 18 years, and even in real estate.
Don't look that old.
Really? I don't know, forever.
I thought she's 25. People, 25,
I feel like I'm 25.
Right?
And so it's like when I'm with my customers or my clients, I always tell them, you can buy this house, but if I wouldn't put myself in it, I really don't want to sell it to you. Does that make sense?
It's not a good situation.
Yeah,
You're going to tell them. And that's where the integrity part comes in.
Exactly.
No, for sure. So would you say this Carlos Charlie guy was, so we're in El Paso, so if you didn't know, when we say Carlos and then she says Charlie, it's because we're widifying the name basically there, right?
Right.
So Carlos, was he your mentor? And while you're answering that, I'm going to pour more wine. Since you're not drinking wine, I'm going to have more wine, because that's always interesting. Do not judge.
So it's really cool because Charlie, Mr. Bombach, he had a great team. And I tell you what, this team was amazing salespeople. I mean, now even today, going back, this is almost 18 years ago, there are some names that have come out of this team that are the top real estate agents in El Paso at this moment. Harris Real Estate Group. You got Victor Alonso, Caroline Alonso. These people came out of this group. Martin Talamantes. The group and the team was on fire. I mean, the people and the talent that I was around.
It was amazing at an early age to have that type of mentor then.
Yes.
Because I know I had a mentor in a different style, but I look back now and think I was so young, but like that person had such an effect on my life, on like how I view things and how I perceive business and stuff. It's amazing what a mentor can do for you.
Yes, exactly.
So he was just like a major mentor. So you went from mortgage to home building, and he was a mentor and taught you just everything. Sales.
Well, the coolest thing is that he's like, well, and it wasn't just him. There's actually Mario Duran, who's actually there as well. I mean, he kicked my butt.
Really?
I mean, tell you what.
How did he kick your
Let
butt?
me tell you, okay?
Like tell me, like, I would
Mario,
like to
if
know.
you're watching, you know better. Like, he knows. Like, he made sure. I mean, he ran a tight ship. And when I go back and I think of the training that I had there, it was intense. I mean, if you were 15 minutes early, you were already an hour late in his eyes.
Wow.
He made sure you showed up.
This is El Paso, because El Paso, like if you're 30 minutes late, that's like on time typically for El Paso. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and so it was amazing because it was like this was not for just anybody. I mean, he was looking for top grade A team players that were ready to go out and hustle. I mean, this was not like.
And if you weren't that, were you just cut loose?
You were gone, yeah.
Out the door. Gone. No, thank you.
And so what he did is he pretty much created this team that was just on fire. I mean, like people that were really ambitious, very hungry, very ready to hustle, ready to grind and do what they needed to do.
When you have a group like that of being so ambitious and being so young, how was the dynamics? Because I've never been in a situation like that. It's always been just me, myself. So I am always interested to see how like the dynamics was there. Like, I mean, was there friendly competition or was it cutthroat?
Oh no, very cutthroat.
Really?
Yeah, but we all loved each other.
Like,
that's
you
what was
love
crazy.
each other,
like,
but you're still gonna cut somebody.
Yeah.
Like, give me a good example. I want to know an example because I'm not a cutthroat. Like, I've never been in a cutthroat industry. I'm like, oh, you want to go with that person? Great, good for you. That was the best fit. But I'm like, okay, so like, give me an example of cutthroat.
So we were very sales is all about. You got to say the right thing at the right time. You got to know your customer. You have to know who you're talking about. You got to know what their needs are, but you got to pick it up quick. I mean, 30 seconds, you got to know exactly what you're doing, what you're selling. And this was the type of, we were what you would call sharks. I mean, and I got to watch all this happen, which was so cool because
how old are you at this time when you're learning this?
So I'm running for Miss El Paso at this time, and this
she's
was
beautiful.
Oh, you're so sweet.
I mean, like, yeah. So, like, how old were you then? So
so I'm about 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm about 17 probably at this time.
So you're just like sucking in all the information.
Yeah, and I'm like watching all these talent just running everywhere, and these sharks just competition just everywhere, and it was exciting. And if somebody came to the model home and they were like, you know what, maybe this isn't the one for me, one of the other teams was ready to, like, outside the door, if anybody walked out of your model home, they were ready to pick them up and sell them something.
That's crazy.
And then, and behind the scenes, and I don't know if they want me sharing all
I'm
this.
not sharing. Girl,
but I don't work
18
there.
years ago. It was 18 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't work there anymore. So, but it was great because, around the table, it was kind of like talking about it with each other. Like, man, you remember that person that walked in here? I put him on a contract. And it was kind of like, and it wasn't a way to, like, personally attack anybody. Like, nobody took it as, like, a personal attack.
It was a little bit of talking shit.
Yes, but it was very competitive. It was like, hey, you know what? You could do better. Like you lost a sale that
you could have made that sale, and I didn't make you
exactly.
Totally.
And so that's where, like, it turned into like a shark fest.
Do you feel like that, like that changed you? Like you learned from that?
Yeah. Well, what was really cool is that, Charlie was like, you know what? And I was actually Jack Bomback too. Jack Bomback is really cool. He's such a great manager too. And he was like, you know what, Megan? He's like, you're doing great in sales, but you know what? Can you help us out in mortgage with some of your connections and some of the relationships you build? And I say, yeah, sure. So they moved me into J&C Mortgage because Saratoga owns J&C Mortgage. And then from J&C Mortgage, they were kind of like, you know what? We need your help in estimating. And I'm like, what in the world is estimating? What is that? And they're like, you'll learn. And so and I loved it because it was always a new challenge for me.
And I think as an entrepreneur, that's like the main thing. Like we're learners.
Yeah.
Like if you throw something at us, okay, I don't know it, but I'll learn it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I think, like look at all the friends and people that we know that are like interconnected, that are entrepreneurs. I think the one main thing that we always see is like, we don't know shit, but we're going to learn it.
Yes.
Like, throw it at me. Throw it at me. I got this. I got this. Like, okay. And because behind the scenes, we're like, I don't know any of this, but to everybody else, we're like, oh, I know what I'm doing.
Exactly.
Like, we got this, you know.
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
got thrown into estimating.
I got thrown into estimating. I didn't even know what in the world. I'm looking at surveys. I'm looking at plot maps.
Which is like totally my world.
And I'm just kind of like, okay, and they're like, okay, how many tons of rocks do we need to order for 10412 Shreya?
And I'm like,
I'll
figure this out.
Tons of rocks. And I'm like,
this is where math comes in.
and then I'm like, and they give me some little special ruler, and that's supposed to tell me something. And so they had me this weird cube, strange ruler, and it's kind of like, yeah, this is how you measure it. And I'm looking at this, and I don't know. But the amazing thing.
Does it go back in your head and feel like, this is why my math teacher said I needed to pay attention?
You know what? I was always paying attention at school.
Okay,
that was when I was the student that tried to sit in the front, that always tried to get good grades. You know, I was always
the one that was talking. They were like, "Shut up."
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like, let me just do enough to get by, and so I pass, and then like stop talking. You know, so you were.
I love school. Oh, I love school.
I mean, I loved learning, but only what I wanted to learn. So you just loved learning in general.
I love learning in general, especially because I had great teachers. Like, I really was blessed.
High school. We were sit in the principal's office for a few classes during high school. They're like, let's just leave her in the principal's office, the vice principal's office. That's a good place for her. Like, she doesn't need to be in the regular class. No, true story.
My goodness.
And I'm horrible. I don't even know any of my teachers' names. Like, you, like, already threw out, like, some teachers' names. Like, I'm like, I don't remember any of my teachers' names in college or high school or vice principals. But, like, dude, in high school, like, my vice principal, I had to sit in his office for at least 2 classes every semester just because I was a pain in the ass. Because I was always like, I don't think that's right. I don't like this. This is stupid. Like, I don't want to do this. And they're like, dude, just like put her in there because like she's a distraction to everybody else.
Yeah.
And so they're like, here's your work. Sit in the principal's office and just don't say shit. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. This is completely better. But then I felt horrible because I'm like, I don't even remember these teachers like names.
You were the kid in the corner with the sex suspended kids on.
Yes, and like, but we were like a small country town, so it wasn't having that. And like that principal taught me how to drive, and I'm like, I don't even remember his name, but he had a buzz cut, and you know, he called me Menefee. That's all I remember. So you know, it was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, we're completely off topic, which is
no, that's fine. That's
it generally happens here, especially when she gives me a whole bottle of wine. I'm like, obviously, you see how I'm like blaming this on you that you gave me a bottle of wine because you don't drink because supposedly she's allergic to it. So no, this is a good excuse to have the entire bottle of wine.
You can enjoy it all.
I am enjoying it all, and then going to critique like this video as I watch it that I have a very boxy sweater on, but you know, that's neither here nor there. That we should have this on social media, but you know, if I start critiquing things now, we would have to go back and look at the rest of my life. So okay, neither here nor there. Go back. So now we're into mortgage, we're into sales, and then we're into building.
I'm in estimating. Yeah, so I'm in estimating, and one area I'm really glad that they didn't ask me to go into was the accounting department, because my gosh, it's chaos. I mean, there's a line. I don't know if you ever have gone around a builder during pay time.
It's stressful.
There's a line. There was literally a line of over 100 people standing there for a paycheck.
Give me money. I need to pay.
My gosh.
I need to pay my workers.
I'm like, how do they do this without pulling their hair out? You know.
I mean, we haven't actually officially finished building your house, but give me money.
Yeah. And so it was really cool because at this time, Saratoga's just like on fire. I mean, they're putting up model homes left and right, model malls, just everywhere. And the team is just selling them. I mean, there's this one guy, his name is Victor Alonso. Man, you put a house in front of that kid, he'll sell. He's not a kid, but you know what I mean?
How old
Victor,
is he
you
now,
know that,
officially?
Right? Victor, you're what, 21 still?
21. We're all 21
I think Victor's still 21. But I mean, he's amazing, super talented. Like, they gave him an entire subdivision. Him and his girlfriend sold it within less than like 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
The whole subdivision. How do you do that?
Come work for me.
How do you do that? That was like, whoa, this is insane. So there were model homes going up left and right. And
so when you were estimating, what were you actually doing?
I was making sure that the supplier, that they had ordered enough supplies, or that the supplies were sufficient amount to put onto the property.
I love it that it was a young woman doing the estimating.
It was so crazy, yeah, because you know what? The guy that I was working with, super cool. Like, I am coachable. I mean, I will learn. I love to learn. So he was like, look, if I need your help. and I need you to do this for me.
Was he
so
good
I just
about giving you props
focused and
in
listened.
reference
Oh,
to?
yeah.
Yeah. Because I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a huge difference between, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but in reference to like women and like in the workplace and entrepreneurial place, that when you have mentors or people that you work under that are good about giving you prompts that you're a badass or you're good at what you do, and even if you're young, because how old were you at this time?
I'm like
21,
17.
22?
No, I'm still 17.
You're still early. You know,
Yeah.
that they're giving you props because that gives you that confidence level to be able to be like, dude, like this guy, how old was your supervisor at this time that you're
Let's
working
see,
for?
Charles was he was probably 33.
So somebody that's in their 30s
Yeah.
able to give props to somebody that in their, you know, early 20s or whatever, to be like, hey, they know what they're doing, like props to that. I think, because I had the same situation, you know, I had people that were in their 30s and 40s saying like, this lady knows like what she's doing even though she's young. And I think that's a huge difference in like our like level of like confidence. Because like, can you imagine at 18 or 19 somebody being like, well, you don't know what the shit you're doing, like,
Yeah.
and like just beating you down and be like, oh yeah, like she orders my stuff but she really doesn't know what it is she's doing, like she only knows what I tell her to do. I think is like you would be a different person if you had somebody else like coaching you versus like this guy that's saying like, hey, no, she knows what she's doing, like this is
Well,
cool.
see, and I think the thing is I've actually had friends who were in that position where they wanted to learn something, but people would kind of like didn't take them serious.
Right.
So I kind of learned. My dad has always taught me like learn from other people's mistakes. Try really hard not to learn from your own. And so what I found is that with relationships and building relationships, because they're like, are you here to take my job? Are you here to? And so sometimes people get a little guarded where their arms are out there guarded. Like, why is she here? Is she here to take my job or is she here to really help me? And so I think my approach was a little bit different because I'm like, okay, man, we're a team. Like, I know nothing. And every situation I walk into, I like to pretend I'm the dumbest person in the room. Teach me everything you know.
I think the best advice like I ever had as a mentor, and I would say I have two mentors, Kenneth and Tom, but Tom was probably my main mentor, and he was always telling me like, after you're done asking all your questions, ask the question like, what did I not ask?
Yeah.
And you know, I know I asked all these questions, but you get these questions every single day. Like, what did I not ask? What did I forget? And for me, that has always been a huge like lesson that he taught me.
Yeah.
Even, you know, 20, 30 years down the road of like, you know, when you're talking to people and when you're learning and stuff, you know, because sometimes we think like, fuck, I know everything, you know? It's like, even like for me, like in the insurance industry, I'm like, please, like I got this, you know, I know it all. But then, you know, I remember that lesson of asking like, hey, you know I just asked all these questions, but what did I not ask? You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
What do I need to know that maybe I didn't think about? And I think that for me has been a huge lesson in life.
Yeah, and it's been actually beneficial for me in my life because people don't see me as a threat. They're kind of like, okay, Megan really is here to help. She's not here trying to take my job. And I'm never like anywhere trying to replace anyone. So I kind of like eased in that position where it was kind of like, they knew I was there not only to work my butt off, to work hard. I was focused, I was driven, and I'll do whatever they want. And at that time, I was like, let's do it. You know, let's get this done.
So as growing up as, you know, a strong sort of like independent woman, like we know what we want, and, you know, have you, and now going into this, because, wait, how old are you now?
You know what? That's a great question.
I am totally going to ask this. Like, I don't care. Like,
okay, so it's funny because I was born in 1985.
okay.
Okay, so I'm like 34.
Oh,
How old am I?
I don't,
How old am I?
34?
34, I
I
think.
told somebody earlier today I was 32 and I'm going to be 39. So, like, dude, I don't
You know,
obviously
I told
need
someone-
to go back to math.
Yeah, I was actually having a lunch meeting earlier, and they asked me, "So you're really young? How old are you?" And I'm like, I
You're
really.
like, wait,
I'm like,
I
okay,
don't
let me.
know. But if you needed me to talk about mortgages, I can tell you the
I can
interest
tell you
rate and how
anything
the
about
amortization
mortgages.
schedules are. But like, if you ask me my own age, I don't
was
know
kinda
this
like-
shit.
I was like, wait, how old am I? Like, I was just like, and then I'm counting, you know, I'm doing the math factor. Okay, we're in 2019, so I have to be at least 33, 34. And so I was like, yeah, I can't be older than 35 because that has to be a big deal, you know? I got to go to Vegas or something, you know?
Right,
So I was like, I have to be around 33, 34. And, okay. And so
So as
I don't keep track though.
I mean, we're still very young women
Yeah.
in the industry. Do you feel like you ever have somebody like look upon you and be like, "Well, honey, what do you know?"
You know what?
I mean, especially because you're in a man's industry like I am. So, like, do you run into that sometimes? And I mean, because it happens. Like,
Well,
it happens
okay.
every now and then to me.
I'm
but
a female roofer.
yeah. I mean,
I
like,
get it
getting a body
every
shop.
day.
Do you?
They're kind of like, they look at me and they're like, okay, are you like the sales girl? And I'm like, oh no, I'm the one that makes sure that your roof's done right.
Right.
And they're kind of like,
Do you ever have other women that don't connect with you?
it's very rare.
Really? Because, or are you oblivious to it? Because it turns out today, somebody like in my office, they're like, "Oh, did you know like y'all are arch enemies with another like female business owner?" I'm like, "Wait, what? I'm an arch enemy with somebody? I didn't even know." I'm like, "Who is this person?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, this person." I'm like, "Really?" I'm like, "Why do they hate me?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, she hates you." And I'm like, "Oh, what did I do?" And they're like, "You don't know what you did?" I'm like, "I had no idea. I haven't talked to her in like 6 months." I'm like, "She hates me?" And they're like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Oh shit." Like, so have you ever run
I'm
into
really
that?
sure. I'm really sure. There was actually there is somebody that really tried to hurt me about a couple months ago.
I'm
that
oblivious to things.
That I've
like,
known like 16, 17 years.
Really?
And like just a couple months ago, actually, like
Were
I
you
have been cyberbullied.
Were you
I
oblivious
have
to
been
it?
cyberbullied by a
Really?
couple ladies. They had created fake profiles on Facebook.
I'm like, who has time for this? Who has time for that?
And they did send me messages, and they were a little like, they're not hurtful because I don't care. I do things my way and whatever's okay with between God, me, and my parents.
And your daughter?
So, well, yes, I'm the role model for my daughter. So,
Okay, her daughter is here with us today, and her daughter is just amazing. I'm like,
Thank
I
you.
was all like, oh shit, like, I'm gonna be like in trouble because there's a kid here in the studio. But like, she's like, y'all are super cute together and
Thank
stuff. And I
you.
think like back, and I'm like, dude, like what you're teaching her at an early age is freaking amazing. But I
God,
mean,
it's insane. Like,
but what you're teaching her and stuff, like, I wish I would have known. But like, sometimes like, do you feel like you're oblivious to other people sometimes?
you know what? The reason is I think I live my life not worried about what everyone else is worried about. I'm not worried about, I don't ever look back. I have my focus. I have my thing. I love people. If they need help, if they need me to, I'm so willing to give. I'm so willing to help. I do everything I can. But I realized I'm not going to be able to please everyone. And there's people internally that are not happy with themselves. And no matter what I say or do, they may be offended forever. And it could be something I didn't even do. It could be something that someone else did.
As an entrepreneur and a salesperson, that's really a hard lesson to learn, that you could be perfect and that person's still not going to be happy.
Yeah.
I think I have a hard time. I've gotten a lot better about it, but I think for me, I'm oblivious. Just growing up in such a small town and then being so isolated, I'm oblivious to so much social stuff, like in the social settings and like people and relationships. Like I don't pick up social cues a lot. So if I offend you and I don't realize I offend you, my bad. I'm sorry. Like, didn't mean to. I probably don't realize that I need to say I'm sorry. Like, when, like, even my BFF the other day, like, I said something that was, like, I did something that, like, she was like, oh, shit, like, you shouldn't have said that. And I'm like, and I realized it, and I'm like, and then I go, like, on the other deep end, I'm like, let me send you flowers.
I feel really bad.
I wasn't probably, like, what I said was truthful, but I shouldn't have said it. And so I'm like, it's a learning process.
Well, I do the same thing. There's times that, I make a decision or I say something in the moment. And then when I go back and I think about it, I'm like, oh, wait a minute.
Like, shit, I shouldn't have said that.
That could have been completely thrown out of context, or that could have been taken wrong, or that could have been offensive. And so I will own it. Like, I will own it so quick. I'm like, you know what? I really hope that wasn't offensive and a lot of times they're like, oh, no, I didn't take it like that. Because if they know my heart or if they know who I really am, they know I'm not sitting there trying to jab them or bring them down or hurt them.
It just happens because I'm very blunt in some cases, and I'm like, and I don't realize that, it's offensive or it's taken out of context or something, but it's a learning process, you know, in reference to that, especially when people are very blunt or very just like whatever is on the top of my tongue, that's what's coming out of my mouth. And I'm like, oh, because my mouth does not process, you know, through my brain. It just goes straight out of the mouth. And I'm just like, you know, so.
You know, somebody actually tells me too, if they're like, you know what you said hurt, and it doesn't happen very often, but you know, it happens. I'm not going to say it never happens, but it happens where someone's like, oh man, that really hurt my feelings, or wow, I didn't know you were going to take it that way. And then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, no. Like,
you're like, my bad.
I'll make it, you know, like I won't sleep on anger. I don't do it. I try to fix things like right away.
Yeah.
I'm not the type that lets things prolong and get worse. I'm just like, hey, let's nip this now. Like,
well, and I think, do you have good advice from like your mentor? Because I think one of the best advices I ever had from my mentor was like, if something's messed up or fucked up, like just pull the Band-Aid off and deal with it right then. Because I was talking to a mentor, like somebody the other day, they were like, no. I like drag it out until I know what I need to say and I know what the outcome's going to be when I say it. And I'm like, but dude, that's like agony, like having to like drag it out. And like, I think for me, my mentor was like, dude, if you know like it's going to be painful or whatever, just go ahead, pull the Band-Aid off, get done with it right now. Don't like drag it out in agony of like dealing with it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to like get to the point.
Yeah.
Don't feed into it. Don't be passive aggressive. Like, it's like when you're going to apologize, it's you know what I said could have really hurt your feelings, or what
just
I did.
Apologize.
And you know what? I'm not perfect. I'm working on myself. Yeah. And I think that everyone knows we're not robots. Like, you know, we're not robots. We're going to make...
I mean, some people know we're not robots, but some people, and they're like, why aren't you doing this? I'm like, I don't know.
Everybody has an off day. That's just how it is. But you know what? Like, we all need to just get over it. You know, like, let it go, get over it, and, you know,
and
life...
FYI, if y'all are watching this and somebody, like, you're upset at somebody and they're having an off day, like, let them, like, have an off day. Like, sometimes we just need an off day as a business owner. Like, shit happens. Like, you have an off day as a person. Like, we're people as business owners also. You know, that's hard.
And, you know, and you never know when that off day is going to be. It's just, you know, I try to stay as positive as I can. There are days that I just feel beat up. I mean, there are days it's like, gosh, is anything going to happen, like, perfect today?
What do you do on those days? Like, because I have those days too, and usually, like, I'm hiding in the back, and I'm like, oh, fuck my life. Like, this is horrible. I don't want to deal with anything. And, like, one of the guys, like, you know, like, this week was a really good week, but, like, some weeks are horrible. And I'm like, you know, as hard as you try, it just doesn't go right.
Right.
And, like, what do you do for yourself?
You know,
but realistically,
sit down.
Don't BS
right.
me.
So I sit down and I analyze, and I'm like, you know what? Is there anything more I could have done? Is there anything else I could have done differently?
But do you like really sit down? You sit down and like.
Well, I take a minute in my car.
Okay.
I practically live in my car. I drive east west, northeast, you know, lower valley.
Like you're in your car and you
all
analyze,
the time. It's like my
is there
office.
Something I could have done differently.
But it's also my quiet time. Nobody bothers me in my car. Of course, sometimes my phone's going off like every 5 minutes, but I sit down and I say, okay, could I have handled the situation any differently?
Right.
Okay, a lot of times, no. A lot of times, it's out of my control, just like it is yours.
Yeah.
It's the insurance. It's the owner's decision. It's
parts. It's labor.
It's nature. You know, it's God's act on, you know, it's what they call it, God's act of nature, whatever. So the thing is that a lot of times these things are not in my control. So how do I get over that hump? One or two things.
I cry.
You know what?
I mean,
I want to sometimes.
I cry. I like, and then I'm like, okay, like
I want to sometimes. Yeah, like I really want to
cry.
Sometimes. I'm not gonna say I don't ever cry, because there have been some moments where I'm just like fed up, especially like because, like I was telling a customer even today, she got denied by her insurance company for a legitimate claim. Legitimate. I mean, the whole thing was hail damage everywhere. I mean, and I'm like, how are you gonna deny that? And I told my customer, I was like, you know, I carry my customers' burdens with me. I don't go home and just turn off the switch. It doesn't work with me. So
you're like me.
If they're having an issue.
What time did you text me the other day?
I don't know.
It was like 10 o'clock at night or something? Or no, it was early. It was like 6:37.
It may have been.
Yeah, but we don't turn it off.
No, our business never is turned off.
Entrepreneurs
4 o'clock in the
don't-
morning,
yeah.
my phone rings till
You
1
answer
o'clock
it.
in the morning, and I answer it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for
Yeah,
me,
because
like,
it's a customer in need.
my phone rings at 2 a.m.
It's a customer
The
needs
first
it.
answer is, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
Or "Is everything okay?" I'm sure, "Is everything okay?" Because if somebody's calling you at freaking 2 a.m.,
Something's wrong.
something's wrong.
Yeah.
Or you're
Usually
a psycho.
it's the water heater just busted and there's water all over the
Yeah.
floor and they need an emergency plumber. You know, I never know what's going to happen.
And if it's 2 a.m. and you're calling one of us and there is not something extremely wrong, like a water heater busting and your whole entire house is flooded or your car's wrecked because whatever, then you're psychotic and we need to have a discussion about this. I mean, no, for real. For real. You've had those people. I've had those people. They're like, "Oh, like it's 3 a.m. And I'm like, "Are you, like, Pronto Body Shop, are you okay?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I just need an estimate." I'm like,
Yes, I get that often.
"Are you fucking kidding
Yeah,
me?"
they can't sleep. They have insomnia.
Yeah. And they think
I'll try to talk to them as long as I can. Then I'm like, you know what? Do you mind if I call you at like 8 o'clock in the morning?
they think because like, oh, like they're not going to answer, and then we answer because we're crazy also.
Yeah.
You know, that, oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, to handle my crazy days, to handle those, like going back to the question that you asked, I'm really blessed with a really good mentor. His name is Darren Hardy,
Okay.
and he doesn't live here.
No?
He lives in San Diego.
How did you connect with him?
Okay, so he has written, I mean, 4 or 5 books maybe. It's called The Entrepreneur's Roller Coaster. There's a book. If you haven't
I
purchased
totally
this,
need to read this because, like,
buy it.
Okay.
Buy it tonight. Like, if I can't read, 1, I'm like partially dyslexic or something, and 2, I have like ADHD. So when
Every
I'm reading,
entrepreneur ever.
I read like the 1 page 8 times, so I have to listen to it.
Okay, so I'm a
you
listener,
can
too.
buy it on your Apple store or your Google store. You can
I know,
actually
I'm
buy
not
the book.
hip. I have a regular Android.
Yeah, and they're great. You know, they have Google, and you can go to your Google store or your iBooks and buy it. And The Entrepreneur Roller Coaster is a very strong, powerful book that kind of changed my life in sales.
Really?
It kind of gave me the idea that it's okay to be different.
Oh,
You don't have to do things the way everyone's doing it.
I don't do things the way everybody wants to do it by any means. So
Yeah.
I need to read this book.
And so it's really cool. And if everybody, even if you're watching this right now, he loves for us to share this information. You can actually go to darrenhardy.com.
Okay.
And every single day, you can actually sign up for an email or a text message. And he'll send it to you. And you watch his videos. Every single day, he prepares a video for you of how to get through that day. And it's just making yourself greater. Just building your business, building yourself.
That's
And it gives you
awesome.
all kinds of information.
I'm over here. She's talking about that. I'm like, maybe I need to have a text message that say, "It's okay to cry.
It's okay to cry.
It's okay to
It's
be
fine.
like, fuck this shit." I mean, I feel like sometimes that's why I need people to be like, "It's okay to say that, Tiffany." You know,
Yeah.
like it's okay. But that's
and you know, like,
awesome.
it's my daughter that gives me that feel. Like, there are times that I just want to come home and just give her a big old hug and just hold her.
And I'm glad you just
Like,
brought your daughter up because I was thinking about talking to you on the way over here. And as an entrepreneur, people always ask, they're like, "Oh, what do you do? Oh, are you married? Oh, you're not married. Do you have children?" I'm like, "No, I don't have children. I have dogs." And they're like, "Ooh, you don't have children? Oh, that's okay because you're an entrepreneur. But you have a daughter." And
Yes.
do people look at you differently when they say you're like an entrepreneur and then you have a child?
Well, I tell you what, like, I was totally, like, after my divorce, I was given the most boundaried information ever.
Boundaried in how? How?
People were putting me in boxes.
I hate
They weren't
boxes.
helping
I
me.
hate
They
boxes.
weren't going to help me grow. They were pretty much a single mother. Like, first, people always bring up the dating stuff. Well, it's going to be very hard for you to find a man who's going to be willing to accept her. And I'm like, then I don't need a man.
Yeah.
Like, she's part
She's
of me.
everything,
I
yeah.
had this little girl through my body. My DNA runs through that little girl. And so I was like, okay. And then the other thing, oh, well, a single parent can't make a 6-figure income.
BS.
There's just no way.
Oh, because you're going to sacrifice your child versus your career or something. And that's, and you know, and I'm very jaded in reference to like, you know, since I don't have children and stuff, but I was thinking about that and I was like, you know, and I totally have been that person. I have been that person in reference to like, oh, well, if they have a kid, so they're not going to have as much time for their business and stuff. But
that
that's
was the other one.
That's not true.
Yep, that was the other one. A single mother cannot own a business in El Paso.
And
oh, really?
yeah, and this is what I think, and I think that's the perspective in reference to everybody. And you know, and I was thinking about that on the way here, and then I thought about my office manager that has, you know, a 7-year-old or 9-year-old, I don't know how old she is, and a 1-year-old, and I'm like, you know what, like, the perspective on a lot of business people and a lot of people that think, oh, well, she's, you know, a mother and she has children, so, you know, it's going to be all about them, so they're not going to put as much effort into the business. And I think, honestly, for me, it's vice versa. Like, what I see in my office people or my, like, shop manager that's a woman also in a man's industry, she puts more effort into it because she wants to show her daughters how much, like, what you can do as a woman. Like, you know, like, hey, it's not a man's industry. It's just an industry.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah. I might not, you know, be married, but it doesn't fucking matter. And so,
exactly.
like, I think that's
and those
amazing.
are a lot of the stereotypes that we come across. And, you know, you can either sit there and choose to believe these people, or you can say, you know what, like, that's not me. That's not what I was built for.
Right.
I really feel like God has given me a gift as a builder to create, to inspire, to motivate. I really feel like I was put here for a purpose. And that was to show other people that they can do it. They can live their dreams. They can make it through. And I swear, I feel like I've been through every test, trial, and error. I mean, I feel like I have been through the ringer and back.
Well,
through all of my
one
experiences, you know.
Through?
Oh, man. I had learned one of the toughest decisions, or one of the toughest mixing a business with relationship.
Oh, God. Let's not even go there. That is...
So, and not speaking about my daughter's father, because he's great in business. Like, Ellie's father is really good in business, and he has a good, smart brain. I mean,
mixing it together.
But last year, 2 years ago, I made a decision to go into business, and spending so much time with someone, I kind of felt like, oh, you know, he kind of liked me, and okay. I wasn't really open to the idea of dating anyone, and kind of got sucked into a world of, hey, so we have this great idea and we can make a lot of money. And I've never done business for money before. But this was the very first time I heard, let's open a business, we can make a lot of money. And at first I was kind of like,
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way. I think a lot of us start off like, we like this, we enjoy it, we can help people, and money is a second thought. I mean, there are some people that are just business-minded and, you know, are all about the money.
right.
But I don't think those are entrepreneurs. I mean, I think it's a different level of entrepreneur. And probably maybe we should all strive to be that person. But I don't think for 90% of us as entrepreneurs that we're like that.
So do you remember 2 years ago, or maybe it was last year, was it? Yeah, 2 years ago. I was with a group of great people. And one not really good, but a group of great people. And there was this idea to open up this players club.
Yes, I remember.
Do you remember opening up players club? It's not an industry I know. It's not a background that I have. It's not something that I can see myself doing. It has nothing to do with passion. It's not something I can see myself playing cards till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I realized at that point I made a mistake. Because...
And aren't those
I went all in.
Lessons?
Was it?
Super.
It was the toughest. It was probably the most craziest mind game I've ever gone through in my entire business career. Like, the struggles. Like, I spent so much money to open it, to make it happen. So much sweat equity went into that place to see it. I designed the entire place. The concept was beautiful. And it was like, and then the city of El Paso decided to, we're going to tear up the street right in front of you so none of your customers can walk in.
Yeah.
And it was like, whoa. And then I started thinking, what am I doing in a business? First, I don't understand.
That you don't have passion
I'm
for.
not passionate about this. So I'm doing this all for the money. And I felt ugly inside. And it was kind of like, I have a really strong relationship with, with God. And I had a moment. And I sat back and I was like, what was I thinking? I blew so much money.
I think we all have
lost a lot of money.
moments.
And I had to just take a step back. And I said, you know what? I'm shutting this down.
Well, I think
I'm not doing this no more.
We all have those moments, and we all have I even have that moment like, God, this was like, what was I doing? Like, this was a great idea, but like, I made bad decisions, and now I have to like live with it and like work through it and stuff. So I think that's a good lesson of like, hey, we all make decisions as business people and entrepreneurs, and they're not all perfect. Like, I would have to say, like, 90% of my decisions have not been perfect, but then I have to work through them and be like, okay, I've learned a lesson. Hopefully in the future I'll make a better decision, on that. But it's hard.
It is very hard.
Because retrospective is completely different than in the moment.
Exactly. And so the thing is that at that moment I realized that I was putting myself in a situation where I had to come home to my family and even my daughter and explain. I felt guilt. Why I made such a bad business decision. But then I learned something. It's not about the fall, it's about the get up. In my life, I kind of compare myself to the little Humpty Dumpty.
Explain that. Because I'm like, Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall and he put himself back together again.
But there's a great book called Humpty Dumpty Gets Up.
Really?
And I didn't realize this, but I'm really active in the schools.
Okay.
I'm partners in education. I really try to get involved with schools. And I went at my mom's school. My mom's a school counselor. And thank God I have parents for counselors, right? I get free therapy for life.
This is my therapy right here. When we were talking earlier, and I'm like, no, like, dude, this is therapy for me. Like, I don't actually know what I'm doing here, but it's therapy.
And like going back to that question, like, what do? I have such a great support system. I have great parents. I have great siblings. I have a great best friend. I have a sweetheart of a boyfriend that really just has my back.
Just say husband, FYI.
I almost said
I'm all, if he's listening,
I almost
just say Christmas
husband.
is coming up.
And so he feels like a husband. He's my go-to, and praise God I have him. I'm very blessed for him. And so the thing is that, the get up, you're gonna constantly fall. And I had to stop putting so much heartache. I mean, there are people that go to Harvard law schools or dental schools or medical schools, and they're coming out with $400,000, $500,000 in debt. And I'm like, okay, that was my education at Harvard. Don't ever put my money into something I don't understand or I'm not passionate about. And that was my big waking moment to never do that again. But thank God also that I made such a mistake at such a young age. But to lose that kind of money at my age was also hard. And I lost everything.
It's so hard in general. And then you think, like, and it's hard to not, like, just give in to that. Because, I think as entrepreneurs, we all have that moment. And, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guarantee almost every fucking entrepreneur says, like, let me just sell this shit or, like, finish it and, like, get an 8-to-5 job.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all...
A lot of times you want to. Sometimes I think about it. I should just be serving Starbucks coffees. Right. And I would love that.
And I would kill that shit because I'm fucking amazing.
Yeah,
right?
and I would have fun doing it because, it's like, okay, let's create something cool, and then I'm going to hand it to you and smile, and I can do that.
Right.
I can totally do that. But is it all me?
It's not
me.
Business.
I'm not built that way.
I mean, someone even yesterday was talking to me, and they're like, oh, like, you should do this. Like, it'd be great. Sell your business. You can go work here. And I'm like, that sounds fucking amazing. Medical and benefits and this, and then thinking, I've never had an employer, like, somebody to tell me what the fuck to do. Like, I don't think I could handle that,
Yeah.
And so we're just built of a different breed,
Exactly.
but it's hard. Like, we get beat down, like, you make bad decisions and I make bad decisions, and I want to think, oh God, like, it's killing me. And then
you think, I have to work 3 times harder just to recover. And then
you have to put
I still
a smile
have
on when
and no one can know what's going on.
Your
but
phone.
let me tell you something about my life. A lot of people think my life, they see the end result, but they never see the startup in the beginning and that extra drive.
It's sort of like social media. We were talking about earlier. I told her I fell off social media for like 2 weeks because it's so draining because everybody sees what's happy and what's great and what's wonderful. And I think like that, what you're talking about, everybody sees the end result. They don't see everything that goes into it, that like, hey, you're deadbeat tired at like midnight.
Yes.
And then you're like, oh, okay, I need to post on social media. Or like you're deadbeat tired.
Or you're doing accounting and bills at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, like you're okay, you know, you don't want to lose time with your daughter or quality time with your kids. So you're like, okay, you know, it's sacrifice. It's like, okay, I'm going to put them to bed.
And
but
then
once they're asleep, okay, it's time to get my butt to work. Like, we got to grind. We got to, and especially what I call the cleanup process. The cleanup process is cleaning up my mistakes.
Oh,
and it's
we all have it.
I go back and I analyze everything.
You're like,
I'm an analyzer.
What was I thinking? I mean, even over Thanksgiving, they're like, did you rest? And they're like, because I saw you took your entire computer home. I was like, yes, I took the entire computer home. Do not judge me because, one, I'm getting old and it's hard to look on my laptop. So I took the entire computer screen home with my computer. But, you know, it is. It's cleaning up your mistakes.
Being a business owner doesn't mean we don't have 8 to 5 luxury. It's not like that. But you know what? I wouldn't want that either.
And I always think
because I never know who I'm going to meet.
I always
next,
think like,
you know?
oh gosh, 8 to 5 would be so nice. But then I think I would be miserable. You know, it's not in my personality. And
it's not in mine either.
I don't think entrepreneurs have that personality to be 8 to 5.
Yeah.
And the people that are 8 to 5 that try the entrepreneurship lifestyle, I think those are the ones that fail a lot.
Right.
I mean, but then you have also serial entrepreneurs that are like, oh, I can do this and oh, I can do that. Like, let's just do it. So.
And that's the thing. It's just, you know, it's constantly, because you have to make time. You know, business, a lot of people, it's get business, do business, get paid. That's what we have to constantly focus on every single day. Oh, yeah. But we get business. Okay, now we got to make sure that the business is being done, but you got to go get new business.
Yeah, and then we have to get paid.
And then you got to get paid. Else. And sometimes, I mean, you deal with insurance. It's like, oh, yeah, we forgot about you. I'm like, it's been 3 months.
Yeah.
How did you forget about me?
Like, insurance companies are the bane of my existence. Like, do you wish, your young self, like, do you wish there was one piece of, because, like, we're already running super, like, long on time. Like, do you wish there was, like, one piece of, like, advice someone would have given you? Or, like, the main piece of advice you wish you could give everybody? Because, like, and it could be basic. Like, for me, I tell people, like, one, like, have connection with your customers, like, because I'm really big about, like, sending thank yous and, like, that constant connection. Like, do you have one thing that you wish somebody would tell you, like, do this, like, in the beginning, because this is going to help you?
I think you need to sit down and understand who you are.
Oh, dude, that's, like, that is super hard, because I am, like, almost 40, and I still don't know who I am.
And you know, sometimes it's the growth process. Like, you gotta know several things about you. You gotta know how you operate. When you understand how you operate, then you understand how.
As like how I operate. I mean, like I don't even know if I could answer that now.
Well, like internally, you got to know what drives you. You got to know what your ambitions and what your ambition and your goals are.
True.
You gotta. If you don't know, if you cannot answer at the drop of a hat, like the reason I work hard for is this, then there's something missing. You can't.
I totally agree with that.
You have to know.
Damn. What is the reason you work hard for?
Man, my daughter. You know, like, I want my daughter.
And did you see that? Not a drop of the hat. Like, she knew.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's not that I try to spoil my daughter.
No.
I want my daughter to have opportunities that a lot of people don't seem to get. Yeah. I don't tell my daughter wants to be in music and in drama, and she wants to be in theater. She wants to act. I mean, she's 7.5 years old, has already met with an executive producer because God's grace put them there.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like somebody called me and was like, I really want to meet with you. Ellie just happened to be there. Everything worked out. And so the cool thing is, and this is not just somebody that just walked in and said, I'm an executive producer. It's somebody who's actually produced several films for Netflix and for other big, you know, Paramount and whatnot. And so for him to come in, and he was just like, you know what? I see Ellie's talents, and I really think I can help her make this happen. If I don't understand business, or if I don't have a lock on it either, then I can't show her how to do that either. And so it's constantly showing her to be coachable. If you are not coachable in life, expect to not ever receive the life that God has for you.
And I think that is fucking amazing advice. If you can't be coachable in life, how are you going to expect to, know what your value is, know what you're worth, know what you can bring to the table?
The more you learn, the more opportunities that life opens for you. So when you're closed-minded, closed-hearted, feel like you know it all, I mean, every single day I'm learning something from my clients. Every single day. Whether it be the roofing, the flipping, the investments, the real estate, from my agents, I learn something from everybody I come across. So you'll never see me say, I'll never guard myself and say, I know everything.
And
because
I am the
I
same
don't.
way. I tell people, I don't know.
No.
You don't know what you don't know. And I think that's great advice to close on.
Stay coachable.
Stay coachable.
Yeah.
So, as entrepreneurs,
we could talk forever.
I know, like we already talked for an hour. We don't know everything, so stay coachable, people. Like you don't know what's going to happen for you. So, just make sure that your heart is open, I think.
Yeah. Keep an open heart and, and just, you never know. Say yes.
Say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes. Say yes to wine unless you're allergic to alcohol.
Unless it'll kill you.
Unless it'll kill you. So y'all make sure, we'll tag Megan's businesses on here, but y'all make sure and follow Imposter Entrepreneur and give us a like. And we'll see you next week.